Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another round of RL Global on the PC platform. My name is Dan, and today we are headed to the Bahrain International Circuit, but with a little bit of a twist. Today, we are not doing the full-on track length today. We are actually headed to the short circuit, where it completely cuts out around about turn number 4 all the way to turn 10, and it's definitely going to pose a challenge to our drivers. We're going to be doing 100% race as well tonight, so it's going to be a bit of a slow burner for these drivers. I'm not alone tonight. I'm being joined by the one, the only Austin. How are you doing tonight, Austin?
I'm doing fantastically. I'm very excited for this one. I've seen Bahrain short in action before, but I've never gotten to commentate on it. So I'm very excited with this grid of drivers. I think we're in for a treat.
Absolutely, a high caliber grid around a very challenging circuit. We're going to be doing 57 laps around this 3.705 kilometer track. And it's going to be 211 kilometers in total race distance. There's 2 DRS zones around this circuit on the run up towards turn number 1 and down in towards turn number 5. 2 separate detection zones as well. There's been no lap record as of yet. That is due to the fact that they've never raced around this circuit in real life. And we'll just quickly run through the tyre options. So there is the C2, the C3 and the C4 tyres, and you can see the mediums, really the middle ground. They're going to be able to go 33 laps today. They're about 7 tenths slower than the soft compound of tyres, but they're around about 4 tenths quicker than the most durable C2 hard tyres, but they can't go that much longer into the Grand Prix. Some drivers, they could be tempted to do a soft to medium or medium to soft strategy today.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing here with this track. The tires last quite long. It's 100% race, but it really is only the distance of about a sort of 70% race if we compare it to real F1, because the track is just that short. And that definitely opens up the possibility for a one-stop, probably soft to medium. I would expect a lot of drivers wanting to use the soft tire, considering it is 7/10 of a second quicker than the mediums, and 1.1 second, if we add those two numbers up there, 1.1 seconds quicker than the hard. So you have a massive advantage, and it lasts for almost half the race. However, you have to be careful with that one. Tires do like to overheat a little bit in the Bahrainian desert.
Yeah, of course, a low grip circuit in this circuit. So just low grip around this track, and it's very difficult to really get those tires up to optimum temperature without overheating them. It looks like the drivers are getting ready to go into qualifying. We don't have any standings or previous race results or the constructors coming into this one. So once we've loaded in, I'll put us over to the game scene. I believe you can actually hear the clicking of the session starting. Yeah, we'll just keep getting ready to load in any second now. I might as well put it over to the race scene now. The fuel mix strategy, interesting fact you've got there. But yeah, we're heading into an 18-minute short qualifying session, and around here you can expect drivers to do around about 2 runs. They could probably do back-to-back as well. Very short circuit. We're looking to see sub 1 minute times. That is a pretty much guarantee around this track. But we're getting ready. All the drivers are locking in their tyre compounds. And what are we going to be expecting from this qualifying?
Well, we're going to be expecting constant action, I think. It might be a slow starter, but as soon as they get going, they're going to get going a lot. So I would consider that it is such a short track where out lap plus the hot lap plus the in lap, we're going to see about, it's going to be 3 minutes time. Add the sort of back into the garage and back out. We're talking 3.5 minutes, which means if we run that 4 times, which 4 tire compounds is what the drivers get maximum in this qualifying session, then we end up at 14 minutes. So we might see a slow start to this in the first 4 or 5 minutes, but then the drivers are going to get going, and we're going to see a lot of action once that is the case. One thing that I think the drivers are pretty happy about with this track and the full Bahrain circuit as well is that obviously they don't really have to practice that track in the rain whatsoever, because the chances of rain coming down here in the desert are very, very slim at best. I've never seen any race on any F1 game on Bahrain that ended up with rain. So it's very unlikely, if not impossible, for this to happen. And as such, the drivers really only have to practice one situation, and that's dry. It's the same condition every time. And yeah, I think they're happy about that, because a lot of drivers do not like running in the rain.
Yeah, I also think that we are quite pleased to see that. I know that wet races, especially on this game, they are just they're not really up to standard with the dry races, but we do have a couple of drivers out on circuit. The first one is going to be OMG, it's Anto as it shows up, but that is Antoine Desaluski, so I think we'll just go by Antoine in this one. He's currently coming through the third sector. It's a little bit loud on board with him. I'll see if I can maybe change the volume just a little bit once we actually get into the qualifying, just the latter parts of qualifying. But now coming to begin his lap on a medium compound of tyres, the only driver on circuit actually on this set. So now opening up the DRS and heading down in towards turn number 1, the Haas car charges, coming down, braking at around about 100 meters and kissing the apex through one, short shifting all the way up into 3. We're on board with the Haas car now coming through where you'd normally go straight on. He is now turned inwards to the second DRS straight on normally the run up towards about turn number 11, but this circuit it is turn number 5 now, braking down where you normally would do so just about after the 100-meter boards, and now rising up the hill in towards turn 6, 7 and eventually turn number 8. He's about to cross into the third sector, and we'll see what his sector split time is. Normally it would actually be at the entry of that corner that he's just gone through, but there it is, 44.2 to start us off. I doubt this will be a pole lap just by the fact it is on a set of the medium compound of tyres, but out of the final corner comes Antoine. He has an invalidated on this run here now to cross the line. The first time on the board is a 58.6.
Yeah, and immediately he gets beaten here by Dario Yamulo with a 57.9, and I think that will not be a pole time either just yet, considering it's very early in the session. Track evolution is very much a factor here, but 58.6 for the mediums, I think a pretty good banker lap considering the choice of tire there, but we'll see 3 more sets of the softs there from Antoine, I think. And surprisingly, if you just quickly look at the tires, Louis Welch for a split second there was on the intermediates. He's now switched back to the softs, but he's been playing around. He's been thinking about strapping on some intermediates in these dry conditions, these bone dry conditions. And I think that would be to save a tire compound, to save one set of the tires, but decides against it. Meanwhile, Jake Parnell, Jake Benham is now in provisional pole position with a 57.7. So from one Haas drive on the mediums to one Haas drive on the softs, a little bit of a framework there right now. It's come full circle in the first 4 minutes of this qualifying session, but we have a lot more laps to come. I think Ruben Vallejo is on one, and yep, he is coming through the final corner, and that might be a good one. DRS open and across the line, and it is second. Just misses out by half a tenth there on Jake.
Yeah, it's a very strong time there, and Yari splits them both, does also a 57.7. I'm on board with Nicholas Matteo, running under the name of Nico Parnell for tonight, and I do believe he is on a push lap at the moment, coming up towards turn number 6, 7 and 8, and we'll see what the Alfa Romeo car, the winner, sorry, not Alfa Romeo, Alfa Tauri. I knew I was going to make the mistake at some point. Louis Welch back on the intermediate tyres. Not too sure why, but it's a 43.6 so far for this sector for Nicholas Matteo out the final corner. Here he comes in that blue and black. Blue and white, I would say, Alfa Tauri car. I'm getting them all mixed up. He crossed the line. It's 7th position behind his teammate, who's all the way up in 3rd position on a very strong little bit of pace at the moment. I'm trying to find if anyone else is on a push lap at the moment. Left it, unfortunately, has invalidated. What about Crew 6? It seems like Crew 6 is actually pushing, and he's 2 tenths up through the first sector. So now coming through to begin the final sector, which is pretty much a straight and a corner. But Crew 6 in 13th position at the moment. He's lost a bit of time through the sector 2 split, only about 1.5 tenths up on his previous best lap, but around a track like Bahrain short, and unfortunately he's actually backed off, so that is not going to be an improvement for the McLaren car. I'd assume he's coming into the pit lane, and that is kind of the first wave of laps over and done with.
Yeah, and Louis Welch actually did come out of the pit lane on the intermediate tires. Very interested to see what kind of lap time he can post on that compound, because they will not have any grip whatsoever, and they will be overheating very, very easily as well. So I'm a bit surprised there with what he's doing. Nicholas Matteo, meanwhile, up to pole position here, 6 minutes into the session, and he interestingly wanders around the track there a little bit. Through the grass and gravel, but he's in P1, half a tenth ahead of Jake Parnell or Jake Benham. I'll be caught up by that a couple times as well. But yeah, some of the drivers, playing a little fun there, poking a little fun. But yeah, looking at Louis, he's actually going to go for a lap here. I'm very interested to see. I mean, you're going to see how much this car understeers in the corners. He won't be able to turn this around as quickly as the cars normally go. You see, he's locking up despite taking it very carefully. 4th gear, 5th gear, short shifting massively, much more than the drivers normally would on dry tires. And here as well, 5th already. Now he starts shifting normally. Short shifted up to 5th gear. So no grip on these tires. And yeah, massive lockup. You see, the car just does not want to turn. Absolutely no grip. This is going to be a lap over a minute quite easily. Second sector split. Oh, I'm worried. I'm worried for Louis Welch, but it's not going to be a competitive lap. He just does this to save a set of tires. And we see it there, 49.8 right now after 2 sectors. Oh, and another massive lockup. And he goes off the track to let someone else by. That is Dylan Warren coming through on his outlap. And Louis Welch sacrificing his lap, going with a 1:07. Yeah, 10 seconds off the pace. That's the intermediate tire and dry conditions for you.
Yep, interesting strategy there coming out from the British driver. We did see a couple of runners actually putting a lap as I've just been on board with Dylan Warren, and he's gone for a little trip down the gravel, unfortunately, around about where Mazepin spun in the real-life Grand Prix. That is a swift end to his lap. Before it even really got underway, Ruben Pedreño, I hope I am saying that one correctly, but he's about to cross the line in that Williams car, and he goes into 13th position, just ahead of Dylan Moore and a couple more drivers on push laps at the moment. Andreas Dormeyer coming into the pit lane. What about Jari Fitz? That's actually not him about to complete a lap. That was Julian Naumann. I believe Antoine has just finished up on a run. I tell a lie, it's actually Liam going into 4th position. The times coming down once again. It's a Parnell 1-2 at the moment. Jake and Nico. That's Jake Benham and Nicholas Matteo. The real Parnell is in 4th position. More drivers finishing up on runs. I believe there's a Red Bull car actually on a lap at the moment. That's actually midnight, and he's not coming to an end. But yeah, times just continuing to come out here. I think Krusix might be pushing on a final run. I think he actually is going for a start of a push lap here, so we should follow along with the McLaren driver. Both of the full-time runners, unfortunately, who are 1 and 2 in the championship, by the way, they are not present as of this Grand Prix. Their seats are being filled by Krusix and Sink Bryn, who's in 12th position at the moment. But here comes Krusix down in towards the first sector split. He's only a little bit down, so he is just a slight bit slower on his previous best time, but that could all change around this next part of the lap. Probably the trickiest part of this circuit. Towards turn number 8 he comes, and breaking down into this very difficult corner to nail, and yeah, he did just about lock up. So through to the next part of the track, there's a slight improvement. I don't unfortunately think this is going to be enough to boost that McLaren car ahead of anyone else, so it'll have to be a monstrous final sector, and unfortunately it has all gone down the drain, and he is unfortunately invalidated.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be too worried about the invalidation. I think the fact that he did not lose the car there with that massive moment on the curb, I think he'll be happy about that more than he will be angry at himself for the invalidation there, because that could have ended a lot worse than it did. He's back in the pit lane. He's got some more time. He did not crash the car into the wall or anything. As left, it has invalidated. I just checked quickly. Pablo Hoglar is on a lap right now, just started one, and he is coming into turn 1 with full head of steam. What's the first sector split going to say through turn 4? Yeah, just about gets that right. You want to be on the power early here for this long back straight, almost as long as the main straight. And so a lot of time is left. It actually retires this early on. P18 no time set, so he will start from the back of the grid. Second sector for Hogla in the Williams. Looks good so far. A little bit of a look up. Misses the apex wildly there. This is not a good run for him. And I'm very worried that he might not even improve at all. Final corner. Yeah, lock up, but at least he hits that apex. So that was good for final sector. Maybe he gained a little bit back, but ultimately on time, yeah, only an improvement by 7 milliseconds. No position gain, only a bit of time.
Yeah, more drivers are putting in runs at the moment. Ruben Weihel was not able to improve on his previous best lap, but we do have a Ferrari car. Unfortunately, Andreas Dormeyer not putting in an improved time. I believe he's actually going for the beginning of a lap, but I believe there are some more drivers finishing up on runs. We do have an invalidation from Bryn Evans at the moment, a Red Bull car. That's either Midnight or Jake, and I actually believe it might be, sorry, not Jake, Joe. All these J names are just too similar to me. Midnight is in the beginning of the third sector, probably one of the furthest drivers up on a lap at the moment. He's not improving too much on his previous best time, but I think he would be happy so far. He's in third position, starting on the second row, and he pulls into the pit lane. He doesn't want to do that lap just this moment, as I'm trying to find someone else who could be on a lap. Probably we should go on board with Dylan Warren, I suppose, coming through the second sector at the moment, at the highest point on the circuit, braking on the downhill turn number 8 to cross into the second sector split. Currently in 15th position, not too big of an improvement so far, but this could actually put him up a couple of positions, especially if he finds a bit of time through this final sector. His teammate Liam is just behind him, so to cross the line, it's Dylan Warren. Is it going to be an improvement on his position? He does go up to 12th. Liam also finishing up on a lap. The two Racing Point cars looking to both improve their position up the grid order. Seems like at the sharper end of the field goes Liam into third position, just jumping Midnight by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, here comes Yari across the line. That's not going to be an improvement. He's just about to start another lap here. And Joe, meanwhile, down in 17th, but on the mediums. So he's still going to have a run or two on the soft tire, and that could improve his time. Jake Parnell, Jake Benham, was down 4 milliseconds on his own time. He may have been able to improve, but it seems like he didn't like his run in the final corner, and as such aborts the lap and wants to have one more shot in this qualifying session. So no improvement there. As who else is coming there through the final corner? That's no, that's not Liam. That is Dylan Warren, who's in the pit lane. Yeah, I think everyone is now going to pull into the pit lane. This is what I always like to call the calm before the storm. We're going to have a manic end to this qualifying session. Everyone's going to be in the pit lane right now. No runs. And then in about a minute, we're going to see cars pouring out of the pit lane one by one, until at one point we're going to have probably 19 cars out on track at the same time. And remember, it is a short lap. Every car, if we have 19 out on track, is going to have less than 200 meters of track for themselves on average.
Yeah, it is going to be very tight, and I think some drivers might actually get caught out by traffic. We did just catch the end of Louis Welch's lap. He managed to go from 18th position all the way up into 15th. It's marginal improvements, but they are still improvements nonetheless. We'll just quickly have a gap to the leader, and it is OMG, it's Joe that's the furthest off the pace, but even he is on the medium tyres as well. And he's only 9/10 off. The gap between the two leaders at the moment is 18 milliseconds, and you could just see that midfield pack. That is criminal how close these drivers are. I think actually first all the way down into 16th. It's just less than 4/10 of a second. Absolutely crazy gaps around here, but some drivers have pulled out for their outlaps. I do believe the first driver that will actually be on a on their final two runs, I would say, is Nicolas Matteo. He's got Ruben Vallejo right in front of him, but he's not pushing. So Nicholas Mateo, all he needs to jump Jake at the moment, Jake Benham, who is in first position on a 57.523. He only needs just about 200th of a second. Of course, Jake can improve on his time, but that is not all set in stone. So Nicholas really does not need to give up hope. He just needs to go full send on his lap, and he's done it a little bit earlier than everyone else, which I do think is quite smart. But you can see just on the right of your screen, a lot of drivers are pulling out of the pit lane, so he could get a face full of traffic, but that will not phase him for the time being, because he's just got to focus on what he's got right in front of his teammate, just in front of him on circuit as well. He might be going for a push lap, but we'll stick on board with the Spanish driver here, recently qualifying for the Pro Series, for the Pro Draft, and he could be picked up by an esports organization to race in the F1 esports series. So Nicholas Mateo, a young and talented driver, and he really does just need to refine his craft in this season of RL, and especially in PSGL, the main series to this. Of course, this does follow the PSGL PC calendar. There's a lot of traffic there, and he's invalidated
going off the track there. He invalidated. He had to avoid so much traffic in front that he invalidated ultimately, and that's a massive issue. He's gonna have one more run at the very least. I don't know if he'll make it for 2, but certainly 1. And the first lap that we expected to come through, a little bit down the drain. I also saw that in turn 1, he missed the apex quite a bit there, locked up into turn 1, and then did not make the corner. And you mentioned as he did that, or just after he did that, he needs to refine his craft a little bit. I think consistency is the main factor. He's got the pace. We've seen him time and time again, how quick he is. He is in the championship hunt right now after the first 2 races, for a good reason, as he starts another lap now. Let's see if this one goes better. Turn 1 certainly looked better this time. This might be the run for him. This time, no traffic in front either, so he's got a good one here. First sector, however, a 10th down on his own time. So that is certainly a bit of a struggle. Gets the apex nicely there, uses maximum track width, touches that curb on the inside. That's the one you want to stay away from for the most part. And he's into the wall.
Oh, big accident there for Nicholas Mateo. That puts him out the session, and is just one less driver that Jake Benham needs to worry about. I just get fixated on their names that they've got, but he is on a run at the moment. He doesn't seem to be improving too much at this point. He's actually got Liam right behind him. One of the league admins here in RL's drivers now cannot finish up on their runs. Start a new run as always. The car right off the circuit. That was actually Jake himself as crossing the line. It's Liam. He is not able to improve on his position, as Antoine has not been able to put in a valid lap. He's invalidated on this run. What about Midnight coming through the final sector at the moment? He's just got the Haas car of Antoine right in front of him, crossing the second sector split. He is a bit down on his previous best time, as Pablo Jogler goes into 5th position, as the next driver to cross the line will be the driver from Thailand in the Red Bull car. How fitting of that. And actually he pulls into the pit lane, as this might be the end of qualifying. We'll have to see. Dario is not improving on his previous best lap. What about Ruben Pedreño? He is pushing on a lap, and he has got a little bit of time advantage to his previous best lap. We'll see if he is able to possibly jump in towards the top 10. He is going to complete on this lap, and could cross the line. He goes in probably one of the worst positions to start, in 10th place. I don't believe we'll see anyone else improving on their runs. Ruben Vallejo has invalidated, so that means qualifying is over here. Bryn is not going to be improving, so that means Jake Benham on pole here in Bahrain, and Nicholas Mateo starting alongside him. Antoine in 3rd, Liam in 4th, and rounding out the top 5 is Pablo Jogler. But let's just see the gaps. The top 5 separated by just about half a tenth. Absolutely incredible gaps.
Yeah, and it's just a continuation of what we've seen in the first 2 races of the season so far. Nicholas Mateo, who's starting in 2nd place, is also 2nd in the standings with 26 points, only 2 down on Josh Idaho, who is not here tonight. And we look at our pole sitter, Jake Benham. He's 5th in the standings, only 10 points behind. So even Antoine in 3rd, well, he struggled a little bit more, as he only has 12 points so far. But then we look at Liam. He's got 25 points, so he's only 3 behind. So they scored pretty well in the first 2 races, and they're continuing that form right here.
So the entire field spread of drivers that put in laps was just about 0.4 of a second. Two drivers weren't able to put in their runs. Lefted was one of them, and we did not even see Danny Moreno on circuit whatsoever in qualifying. Where would have he put that Mercedes-Benz car, his teammate, not too far up the grid from him? So it could be a last question mark for the Spanish driver, but we are about to head into the formation lap, and as expected, no rain here in Bahrain, but we will get to see what strategy they're opting for. I'm a bit concerned because I'm seeing wet tyres in that Mercedes garage. They will be swiftly changing, but yeah, I'm not too sure why the game has just automatically put them in there. I saw them in VSR Andy's garage as well, but they swiftly changed to the mediums. There we go, softs for Louis Welch, is seeming like the tyre that he'll be starting on, but we just have to wait for drivers to actually put in their laps. I just want to note something. We probably won't be doing podium interviews. I don't think any of the drivers will be wanting to do them, and that is because of Champions League being on tonight. There was a lot of pressure for to start a little bit earlier tonight, just so they could make the start of the Champions League matches, but and there was even some debate about a 50% race coming in, but no, they luckily they've kept it at the 100%, so it's going to be about an hour around here as well. The longest track in terms of time, because of course the 100% race means that they'll be doing 57 laps instead of the normal around about 28 around Bahrain. But we are going to get ready to get underway here, and yeah, you can see everyone pulling off for their formation laps. We'll just see what tyres they've all opted for. Interestingly enough, Andy, I didn't notice this, but he has gone into why is Ruben Vallejo at the back? Oh, I know the issue with Ruben here. It's because he joined mid-qualifying. So yeah, it's put him right to the back of the order on the set of tyres that he's qualified on. That is going to be really frustrating for him.
Yeah, certainly. It's unlucky that happened, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to be happy about it. But he's going to have to make the most of it. The character of a driver who will show the most in adversity, and not just a driver, any human really. That's a life lesson for you right there. Adversity will bring out the true character of a person, and I think Ruben Vallejo, he's gonna fight. He's gonna try to get as many positions back as he can, and I wouldn't count him out. It's gonna be an uphill battle for sure, but he's got the talent, he's got the speed, and he's got the will to fight as well. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to go for him here at the start of the race.
Yep, so he'll have to start in 20th position. You just saw the graphic from AWS predicting the tyre strategy. I'd say that's fairly accurate. Around about lap 23 is when the drivers will want to come in who are on the set of softs to go onto the set of the medium tyres. We probably won't see the hards at all today unless we get a safety car, as the first of the drivers just coming into their pit box. It's going to be Jake leading us off on pole position. Nicholas Mateo starting alongside of him. It's going to be absolutely crucial to see who gets the better start out of the pair of them. As the final driver of Ruben Vallejo in a place where he should not be starting, he will be the last driver to pull into his grid slot, and we will get ready for 57 laps of the Bahrain Grand Prix. The anticipation builds. You can hear the Bahrain crowd as the engines roar. We're lighting up here in Bahrain. 5 red lights. And we are underway here in the Bahrain International Circuit. It looks like it's been a really good start for Nicholas Mateo coming down towards turn 1. Antoine pulling out to the outside line, but here comes into the first braking zone. Jake Benham is going to be leading, but it's going to be side by side between himself and Nicholas Mateo. Who's going to get the advantage coming in towards turn 4? It looks like Nicholas Mateo on the inside line. It's now there's battles further back down the order. They're still going wheel to wheel. Jake Benham managed to hold him off, and I think actually that's Antoine's going to have a look in here, as now trying to go side by side with Nicholas Mateo, who's trying to take the fight back to Jake, but it now coming in towards turn 5. I believe that is a position made for Jake. He's consolidated himself. Antoine still fighting him back here, coming up the hill. More battles further down the order, but what a start we have just seen there. Jake defending perfectly, and once again the pit stop strategy just coming up on your screen is drivers shifting down the order. That's Kersey off the road and almost in the gravels. There's Ruben Vallejo making up 5 positions off the start. What a first lap we've just seen there, Austin.
Yeah, and Lefted just almost ran into the back of Crucix. They had to avoid, and now the 2 Alfa Romeos all the way down in the back. We have our first pit stop as well. It is Louis Welch who is going into the pit lane. I think that is for a damaged front wing, and that's an early pit stop. He started on the mediums as well. And yeah, indeed, front wing change for him, as this first lap was already very, very manic indeed. But we're only getting started. The order sorts itself out now in the timing screen. We're waiting for Louis. He's going to be the last one, as he is in the pit lane still, to get across that first sector line. But everyone else here accurately depicted. Just add or take away one position from everyone and add 19, unfortunately, to Louis Welch here, who is the only casualty of that start. But my goodness, what a try there from Mateo, wanting that position. He tried his best, but he was not able to get it. And Vallejo now already up to 13th. The man has gained 7 places in just 2 laps.
Yeah, it's been really strong from him so far in this Grand Prix. It looks like more drivers up the front of the order, still just trying to have half looks at each other, as it looks like Dario Yamulo looking on the back of Liam. He was close to making the move stick coming in towards turn number 1, that was, and that's actually going to be Jari Fitz going up the inside. He's trying to have a half look, as DRS has now been enabled, so drivers can utilize that to their advantage, but the DRS train can definitely cause some issues. Really, the only driver at the moment actually getting a benefit from the DRS is going to be Nicolas Mateo. So these two will be trading positions throughout the entirety of this Grand Prix. Drivers still trying to get close to their rivals back behind them, but it doesn't seem like anyone's really been able to make a move. This could be where it all changes for the lead of the Grand Prix, as Ruben Vallejo once again making up a position. This man is on a charge, and it is to be expected given that he is on the soft tyres, but it is still very strong nonetheless. As coming down in towards turn number 1 is Nicolas Mateo, going to try and opt for the move up the inside in towards the first braking zone. He's going to hang back for the time being, and I think that makes his intentions known, that he wants to stick behind for as long as he can.
Yeah, and he's playing the long game right now. He's waiting for Jake Benham to just deplete his energy, deplete his battery quite a bit, and so far it's working well. Benham is on 75% ERS. We have a yellow flag in sector 1. That is Bryn off the track there. He's just rejoined, and those rear tires were a bit dirty. They're cleaning themselves out now, but he was off there in turn 4. It is quite a tricky section of the track, and I think there may have been some contact possibly with another car. So he's down in 19th. But yeah, Mateo, he's taking it slow right now. He enjoys his time there. 2nd place on this track, considering how long the 2 DRS straights are, I think is the better position when we come to the last couple of laps. However, it might keep him vulnerable here to the other Haas, to Antoine. They're putting him under pressure. Antoine on the outside has a little look there, but Mateo defends that position. That is the tricky part of this whole thing for Mateo here. He can look in front and he can say, hey, I don't have to attack, but at the same time, he has to look behind and has to defend. So where does he go? What does he do? It almost looks like Benham is backing him up a little bit into Dzaluski.
Yeah, it could be a 1-2 for the Haas team. When have we ever said that one before? But, what have you just seen there, Austin?
Antoine almost went into the back of Mateo there. Massive lockup, and thankfully he was just able to avoid it. I don't think there's any damage on that Haas, but Dzaluski very aggressive right now.
Yeah, he's closing right up to the back of Nicolas Mateo, coming in towards turn number 1, down the straightaway. They can't forget about Midnight behind as well. He's actually closing the gap to Antoine Dzaluski, and he's pulling out of the slipstream, maybe trying to look to the outside line of the Haas car. He's going right the inside of Nicolas Mateo. He had a half look on the AlphaTauri car, and that might actually leave him vulnerable to Midnight, who does have a slight better line coming through these next couple of corners. He's challenging him to the outside line, but he's not been able to find an avenue through there, as it seems like more moves being made further back down the order. I'd just like one thing to note, that Jari Fitz has got a bit of wing damage, and that's why he's dropping so far off the back of Dario Yamulo. He actually picked that up around about 1 or 2 laps ago. He did catch it as trying to go around the outside of Julian Naumann. In the other Renault car is Dylan Warren. He's not been able to take the position off of him there, but yeah, it's been a really clean start from from some of these drivers at the moment. We'll just quickly have a look at their positions gained. You can see the biggest gainer is Ruben Vallejo into 11th position in this race. I think he'll want to settle down just a little bit more, but yeah, he's been really strong. Danny Moreno also making up a number of positions, but here comes Antoine Desaluski onto that of Nicolas Matteo. He's not even in the slipstream, as I think Pablo Joglar is actually trying to go for the move, maybe around the both of them, around the outside of Midnight. Certainly can he get the Haas car, the Frenchman, as they're still wheel to wheel. It was a bit of wheel banging between the pair of them. I think Midnight's had to be, he's really just been forced to concede there, but it is Pablo Joglar making up into 4th position. He's moved ahead of the Red Bull driver.
Yeah, massive traction loss there for the Red Bull in turn 2, and that ultimately forced him to concede. A little bit of wheel banging as well, but I think that traction loss was more due to a bit of over aggressiveness on the throttle there by Midnight, and ultimately he had to concede there and settle down in 5th right now. But he won't be happy. I think he won't be happy with himself for the most part for that slide, but well caught at the same time. He's still in this, and I think at this point, if we're looking at the gaps, honestly, anyone in the top 17 can possibly still win this race.
Absolutely, this track, you just don't know what to expect from it. We could expect a move coming in towards turn number 1. Nicolas Matteo having to defend to the inside line of Antoine Desaluski, who's going to sail right around the outside. Can he make this move stick? We're on board with the Haas car. He's got the inside line for turn number 3. Of hand in frustration raised by the Haas, the French car, as coming now on the exit in towards the DRS straight. Nicolas Matteo really feeling the pressure from the Haas car there, wheel to wheel down the straightaway. I think Jake Benham is going to give a bit of slipstream to his teammate. That's good team play from the pair of them, but now coming in towards turn number 5 and up towards turn 6 and turn 7. Nicolas Matteo trying to hold him off, and there he is. He's just about maintained the position. They're conceding time to Jake Benham in front of them, but Antoine Desaluski really trying to go for this move, trying to force it, but beautiful defending from Nicolas Matteo in this Grand Prix so far. And what about in towards turn number 1 next time by? Surely he's got to have another crack at the whip, but Nicolas Matteo looking like he's also closing up to Jake as well. So coming on to the DRS straight on the run down towards turn number 1, as Antoine Desaluski pulling out of the slipstream actually, and he might be trying to defend from Pablo Joglar right behind him. He is trying to look for a move. He's not close enough to go this time by, but these guys all fighting is giving up a little bit of time to the drivers behind. We'll go back to the tyres because I've just realised I actually forgot to do that. One of the drivers that we don't need to forget about is Andy at the moment. Andreas Dormeyer on the medium tyres. He's with the train, and he'll be going later in the race, and then he'll have the better tyres right at the end of the race.
Yeah, he might be a dark horse right now for the win. We have a yellow flag that is lefted, I think, in P70. Indeed, he's off the track. Now into the wall, he's out.
Oh.
Safety car coming out. Oh, and that can change the whole complexion of this race. Is someone going to come into the pit? It is a bit early to go for the hard tire. Remember, it lasts around 40 laps. We still have 48 to go. It would be risky, but at the same time, it might be worth it. If you can make the tires last long enough, Benham decides against it. Is anyone coming in? Oh, yes. Hogla is coming in. Midnight's coming in. Liam Parnell's coming in. Oh, my. Half of the soft runners are into the pit lane right now. And that really changes things. And some of them, Yamulo is actually going on to mediums. I think he completely misjudged that. Maybe he put the wrong tire in. Maybe he didn't call his pit crew. Maybe they didn't understand him. But that is definitely the wrong choice, I think. You want to go to the end. You lose about 22.5 seconds here from a normal pit stop under green flags. And you don't want to lose that time. That is about a third of the lap. It's over a third of the lap that you lose just from a pit stop. And yeah, I don't know about that one for Yamula. The rest going on to hards, and some of the medium runners as well in the pit lane going on to hards. So interesting, that one. Will the softer medium runners be able to drive out enough time over the course of the race to make up 22.5 seconds that they will lose in the pit lane?
Yeah, I think Dario might have just made a game-changing mistake for himself there, picking the medium compound tyres. I can tell you now, they are not making it to the end. I actually made a bet the other day that a driver wouldn't go to the end of the race, and he did manage to, so I'm not going to be promising anything for this one, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls back into the pit lane, and indeed, he's not. so he's going to stay out. Kersey into the pit lane for Alfa Romeo, and that is a bit of a late call from himself. He did have the opportunity last time by. He's going to give up a little bit of track position to drivers he might have been ahead of previously in the Grand Prix. This does help drivers like Hiari, Bryn, and especially Louis Welch. Louis Welch was right at the back of the order for the longest time here, of course, pitting on lap number 1. He was further off than anyone in this Grand Prix. It's now gifted him a bit of time to the drivers in front of him. He still does not have that track position, but it does act as a bit of a saving grace for himself, with the order being a bit shaken up at this point. We'll see what drivers have made up the most positions in this race, and it is indeed Danny Moreno, starting from 19th. He did qualify in 20th. He didn't even come out on circuit during qualifying. He's made up 12 positions into 7th now. Some other drivers doing well. Oh my gosh, it's Joe Hannon in 6th place. He's made up 7 spots in this Grand Prix. Both Ruben Pedreño and VSR Andy are also up a number of places. And I believe Ruben is still on a set of the soft. The top 4 all on a set of the soft Campana tyres. Those guys want to do soft to medium to go to the end of the Grand Prix. I'm not sure why Julian Naumann is showing up as having a position being made up, so that is a little bit of a glitch on the tyres, but we're just going to have to wait out for at least one more lap, I'd assume. Probably next time by we'll come into the Grand, we'll come in and we'll be back underway racing here. But now, Austin, I'll come to you for your tactical insight in this Grand Prix, with all the drivers coming into the pit stops and drivers really splitting up their strategy. Who would you say is the most likely to take a victory today?
It's difficult. I think this safety car period has really shaken things up, and I think the best chance is either gonna go. I'm gonna have to split my picks here. I think it's either Andy Dormeyer or it's Pablo Joglar, depending on whether Dormeyer is gonna be able on the soft tire when he pits to drive out 22.5 seconds and catch back up to the hard runners, and maybe drive out a little bit right now. Although, considering how close the tires are, it might be that Dormeyer is going to be a little bit more of a sitting duck to the hard runners, and it's going to come down to how much he defends and how well he defends, and the other medium runners in between as well. So I would say right now either Dormeyer or Joglar. I think the soft runners have a bit of an issue on their hands, as they could have used this safety car period to pit and they didn't. I think that might be the wrong call.
Yeah, interesting race this is turning out to be, but the safety car has been confirmed to be coming in at the end of this lap. That means it is Jake's discretion as to when they go, and given the fact that he's already gone full throttle, he is now chosen to put it flat on the floor, sliding out the corner. That was quite a spectacle. No DRS this time by, but I think he's caught out Nicolas Matteo, because here comes Antoine Desalewski pushing him down the straightaway, and he's just been able to stop the car from going into the wall, but it's going to go right around the outside, braking later, and now trying to make the switchback move on Nicolas Matteo. The French against the Spanishers now around the outside. He can't find an avenue, but this is going to lose him so much time to Jake Benham in front of him, as now coming on to the one of 2 DRS straights on this circuit. I think Nicolas Matteo just about held on to that one, but Jake Benham has been able to just stretch his lead ever so slightly in this Grand Prix. We'll see where the hard runners are at the moment. They're still sitting in the positions that they pitted into, but what a restart from Jake Benham. He completely nailed that one. Caught Nicolas Matteo absolutely napping, and Antoine, if he wasn't pushing him as aggressively, I'd have thought he might have actually been able to go for the move, but the closest gap on circuit at the moment is between Pablo Joglar and Midnight. These two have already been battling so far in this Grand Prix. They've had a little bit of contact. I'm hoping that they're going to keep that to a minimum for the rest of the Grand Prix, but Midnight, it might actually be to his advantage to go for the move before DRS is enabled, and then try and keep up with the drivers in front. But I think, no, he's not close enough to go for the move this time by, as Louis Welch making up the move on Kersey before the braking zone even comes. Beginning lap 14, we've still got a number of laps left to go in this Grand Prix. It's Jake from Nicolas Matteo from Antoine Desalewski, but what a restart we just saw there.
Yeah, Desalewski was trying to get the position and wanted the inside so badly, but Matteo was completely defending it. He was hugging that inside line, that pit wall, and Desalewski ultimately actually touched the diffuser of Matteo with his front wing. That cost him all the momentum he had, and ultimately he was not able to make that move happen. If he doesn't touch Matteo there, he has more momentum. I was on board with Desalewski for that move and down the whole straight. He could have made that move happen if he does not touch Matteo's rear there, but ultimately he did, and that cost him that position, I think.
Yep, so Dario Yamulo in the Ferrari car making a bit of a blunder on the strategy, but he is still trying to make the best of the cards that he has been dealt. He's just made the move up on Liam Parnell behind him now in 12th position, and he's going to look for another move on Midnight very soon. DRS has now been re-enabled after the safety car period, the mandatory 2 laps that the drivers have to complete before DRS can be used again, and I think Dario is just going hell for leather at this point because he's using up his overtake a lot more than the drivers in front of him. He's got 55% in the battery, and Midnight just in front of him is about 80%. But those medium tyres are really going to come to his advantage. Coming through into the next part of the track at the beginning of the 3rd sector, you can see how much more confidence he really just has on the brakes in comparison to the hard runners. But those tyres, they will not last forever, and he might actually try go for the move coming in towards the final corner, pulling to the inside line. It's Dario up the inside into 10th position ahead of Midnight. That might not have been the smartest move for him there because now he's lost quite a bit of time to Pablo in front of him, and I think Midnight also might try and go for the move in towards turn number 1. He's just not quick enough at this point. Dario into 10th position. I'm not too sure if that was the smartest move to go there though.
I mean, you take the positions as you can, especially with the tire difference between the fresh mediums and the fresh hards, and with considering that Yamula most likely will have to pit again, you need to make up as many positions right now as possible. So I think it was a smart call. What I'm a bit more surprised by is that the 15-lap-old mediums here that Dormeyer, Joe, Danny Moreno, and Dylan Warren are on actually are still holding up quite well compared to the very, very fresh still hard tires that Pablo Hogla is on, where we're talking and something's going on with Dylan Warren. He's ghosting a little bit here, and Hogla and Yamulo just went past. Is that just on my screen, or is that happening to you as well?
That's happening to me. I think Dylan Warren, his internet issues plague him once again. Back at the front of the order.
Yamulo!
Yamulo, he's gone right up the outside line, I think, of Pablo.
No, he took the inside, but he was very opportunistic there because and Warren and Hogla made contact there as well. It's really all kicking off, and Hogla keeps the position now. There goes Midnight. Ever the opportunist. I've seen him time and time again do this. Whenever there's an opportunity that arises, Midnight is taking it with both hands, and he does so here once more. So the first of the 4 medium starters that are still going on their tires has fallen, and the other 3 still waiting. Yamulo should be catching up to them quite quickly. Danny Moreno next on the chopping block for that whole group behind. I'm just surprised that the hard runners didn't put up more of a fight, but it's still all within that DRS train as Louis Welch now goes for a move on Bryn there into the final corner. That's over P17, and Yamulo, that is not surprising on those fresh mediums with the fastest lap of the race.
Absolutely. There's always been a touch at the front of the order. I think Antoine Zesaliski got a touch up the rear from Ruben Pedreño, and luckily he's been able to maintain the position, but he has now dropped out of the second window. He just about has DRS. He was ahead in the detection zone, and he's managed to keep that one there as Dylan Warren, I think he's into the wall or something there. He's certainly off the track, but drama here. Antoine getting a touch up from behind, and he's pushed everyone back into each other. We're on board with Joe Hannon, and he was going for a slide through turn number 6, so it's all kicking off at the sharp end of the field. Nicholas Mateo very close to the back of Jake Benham. This could be the move for the lead on circuit. Of course, those drivers, they're not too far away from their pit stop, and I'd actually assume that those tyres are not feeling their best. I don't know if he wants to go for it in towards turn number 1 this time by as a big slide out of the final corner for the Spaniard. He's holding it to the inside line. He's just about tucked back into the slipstream. This could be the move that he's going for. Andres Dormeyer also trying to make a move on Ruben Pedreño right behind him. Nicholas Mateo not close enough to make the move. What about Andy up the inside in the Ferrari car against the Williams, and now he's made the move stick. And that medium car, those medium tyres on that car, Dylan Warren speeding to the pit lane. I'm hoping he's not retiring from this Grand Prix, but Andy making up the position. Yeah. There it is, Dylan Warren out of the race, and after what's just happened there, I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, it's just unlucky, the internet connection issues. It's unfortunately not the first time we've seen it, and once again it claims him as a victim here and as a casualty in this race. So 2 drivers retired, but 18 still in this race, and I mean, if you look how close they all are, We're talking about 10 seconds between P1 and P18.
Yeah, they are. The gaps are really minuscule between the drivers at this point in time as the soft tyres, they continue to die off. Joe Hannon going to be the next one to pick up a move on Ruben Pedreño, and I actually think Danny is going to go up the inside of his fellow countryman as well. So Ruben losing 2 positions in about 1 corner there as he's down into 7th position. Those tyres are definitely past their best. We'll see if Danny Moreno can actually try and make a move on the Red Bull car, maybe just try and sneak it in under the nose of the Red Bull. Coming down the straightaway, just not close enough as Dario making up position as well. He's well and truly into the leader's train at the moment in this Grand Prix. 9 laps on those medium tyres. They've still got quite a bit of life left in them. He'll have to go onto a set of softs at the end of the Grand Prix. I just don't see those tyres getting to the end at this point. But coming on to lap 20, the top 3, those guys have got to be thinking about their pit stops. And I think Andreas Dormeyer is going to be the first one to really ravage on the weakened and battered top 3 coming off the final corner. Here he comes. Is he going to be close enough to maybe try and attempt the move? He actually is not close enough as there's a car off the track, and that is Ruben Pedreño. I wonder what's happened to him there. He's right off the road. I don't know if he's got any wing damage on that Williams car.
Yeah, speaking of wing damage, I'm pretty sure Midnight is... that was wing damage, and he completely retired in the pit lane as well, so he's done for the day. We're down to 17 runners now, and Pedreño, I think, yeah, he might be going... is he going for some wing damage there? Yes, he is indeed. That is a wing change going on to mediums. Yep, they will make that, I think. 3 laps extra on the 4 laps extra on the lifespan, but certainly possible. You can stretch tires out a little bit longer than the intended lifespan by Pirelli. I think Lance Stroll has shown that in the Portuguese Grand Prix on Sunday that you can stretch some tires a little bit longer than Pirelli tells you to.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be a little bit touch and go for him at the end of the Grand Prix as to whether he makes it, as I think Antoine Desaluski might try and go for the move. Under our noses, Nicholas Matteo took the lead of the Grand Prix. I just did not notice that whatsoever. Focusing too much on the drama back behind. There's been a change to the lead as Andreas Dormeyer going right up the inside. You could just see him peering off to the right hand side of the Haas car that we were on board with there, as Joe Hannon also trying to make the move here, and Danny Moreno trying to see if he can pick up any of the scraps. Andreas Dormeyer really trying to get aggressive here. He doesn't want to be stuck behind these soft runners any longer. They're just really limiting his pace at the moment, and he really just wants to push as hard as he can to maybe stretch a gap to his rivals behind him, but he's caught in this DRS train where it's so difficult to make a move. But now going for that move, it has allowed for Antoine to be sacrificed just that little bit of time. So possibly as Ruben Pedreño, he's just given up before his medium stint even began. That makes it 4 casualties in this Grand Prix out of the race. Left did Dylan Warren, Midnight and Ruben makes 4, but now off the exit of the final corner, yellow flags, don't worry about them, that is just Ruben's car in the pit lane. Here comes Andreas Dormeyer on the back of Antoine Desaluski in towards turn number 1, 25% left on the battery for the Ferrari car, as pulling to the inside line goes Antoine Desaluski, and that was a very late maneuver there. Probably could have chopped off the front wing of Andy if he wasn't careful, but he has maintained the position. I don't think Andreas Dormeyer is too pleased about that, as actually Jake Benham making a mistake, as here comes Antoine coming up his outside line. He takes the position the Haas cars have swapped over, and that might have been a tactical decision from the Haas team. Those two have been working pretty well together so far in this Grand Prix, but all this shuffling and changing and battling has allowed for Nicholas Matteo to stretch his gap up into the lead. But it is Nicholas Matteo at the end of lap 23 from Antoine, from Jake, and then Andreas Dormeyer right behind in fourth.
Yeah, I think this is a smart call from the Haas guys. Switch the two around. It seems like Desaluski is the one with a little bit more pace right now, but Desaluski is also the one pulling into the pit lane right now, and it's a bit early, I think, considering that we had a safety car period, so these tires should be in good shape to last a couple more laps, but I think we can expect Jake Benham into the pit lane at the end of this lap as well, so it's going to be a little double pit stop here within the 2 short laps, one before lap 24, one at the end of lap 24, and the 2 Haas guys will both make their pit stops. Nicholas Matteo is going to have to respond now as well, I think. Oh, as Andy gets a massive tank slapper on. Well held right there, but loses a bit of time. My God, that was a violent drift right there. And Dormeyer does well to hold on. I think the technical term for this is a Code Brown moment.
Absolutely. I think he would have really been scared of that one there, but as drivers pulling into the pit lane, Nicholas Matteo coming in, Jake Benham staying out at least one more lap in this Grand Prix, as Nicholas, he just had to do that to respond to Antoine Desaluski. We'll see where he comes out in comparison to his rival. Whilst all that was happening in the pit lane for Antoine, Danny Moreno was trying to attempt to move on Joe Hannon. As you can see, he's still behind the Red Bull car, so he's not been able to make that move stick thus far in the Grand Prix. But Nicholas Matteo coming off onto the exit of the pit lane, and he is going to be behind Antoine Desaluski, who now has the position on him. Whether he can make up those spots on track, I'm not too sure. He's going to have a lot of time in comparison to the hard runners in front of him, especially the guys at the tail end of the field. So he's just going to be focusing on keeping this clear air, keeping his head straight, and then he will try and catch up and challenge them towards the end. But now I'd assume that we've got to see Jake into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Andreas Dormeyer trying to pick up as much slipstream as he can, and that is because he knows that he will be vulnerable to Joe Hannon behind him for the next couple of laps. This is now the race lead at the moment, but these guys still do have to pit. Your net leader at the moment is, of all people, Pablo Jogler, driver that we have not spoken too much about in this Grand Prix, but he is in a race-winning position unless everything changes. And around the track, like Bahrain Short, everything can change.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, look at who's in a net P3 right now. That's Ruben Vallejo, the guy who qualified inside the top 10, then got shuffled down all the way to 20th, had to start on the tire he qualified on despite being last, and now he's in a net third. I mean, talk about a comeback right there. That is absolutely remarkable from Vallejo, and absolutely magnificent, and he's putting some pressure on Liam Parnell in front as well, and Hogla. They're struggling. They're not that close to the front four, so they're not really in a position to challenge them. And Yamulo might be the guy to look out for here, as he should have the best traction. But Joe Hannon going down the inside, and Andy Dormeyer gives him a little bit of space, but keeps the position as well. And it's really bunching up between those four. Look at Yamulo around the outside of Moreno. Massive slide, and around that long back straight here, that massive slide is going to hurt you through the whole straight. And now Hogla getting a bit closer. Maybe Hogla is actually keeping that gap to Yamulo and the front four, just so he doesn't catch that much dirty air, but still stays in the DRS. Maybe it's a deliberate choice to keep a bit of a gap in front, as Dormeyer looking to break the toe there with the cars behind. I think he will be under a lot more pressure this time around than he was on the last lap, as we near half time here. 27 laps done, 28 and a half is pretty much where the halfway point is. And here goes Joe. Will Dormeyer defend? No, he stays on the outside. Joe on the inside, goes a bit deeper, and Moreno as well. Did he get a touch from Yamulo?
He might have just got a little bit of a touch from the Ferrari car. He's in a Ferrari sandwich at the moment, but Joe Hanna moving into the lead of the Grand Prix. Of course, now he's not going to have DRS in front of him, so the advantage swings back the way of Andreas Dormeyer, as coming in towards turn number 5. They're not going to be close enough to make a move this time by. You can't also count out Danny Moreno and Dario Yamulo, especially Dario, because he has got those fresher tyres. He still doesn't have to technically pit, but it's going to be very touch and go as to whether he gets to the end, and that is a huge emphasis on touch and go, because it'll be so close. If he's actually able to get to the end, he'll be in the range of 85 to 90. As coming on to the beginning of lap 29, we have officially crossed into the halfway point of the Grand Prix. It just seems like Andreas Dormeyer has not really done enough to keep up with Joe Hannon in front of him around the next part of the lap. But also Dario trying to have a look in at Danny, but he might have to look behind him and look in his wing mirrors, because here comes Pablo Joglar. He is very close to the rear of the Ferrari, the scarlet red, the prancing horse, the beautiful livery that is one of my favourites. I would say is Crew 6 retiring in the pit lane He didn't really have much going for him in this Grand Prix, unfortunately, but that is his RL Global PC debut completely ended here. So, coming on to up the hill, here is Danny Moreno. He's only about 2.5 tenths back from Andreas Dormeyer at this point in the Grand Prix, and those tyres are going to be feeling pretty spent at this point. So possibly they could start thinking about getting some track position before they come into the pit lane for their mandatory pit stop. Here he comes now through the final corner. Is he going to be close enough to challenge into turn 1? Given the fact that he's about 3 tenths, 4 tenths back, I don't think he'll be close enough, but he is using up some of his overtake, and he might actually be trying to go for this move. We're on board with the Mercedes cars. Andreas Dormeyer, he's gone into the back of him. That's wing damage. An end plate loss for Danny Moreno. He's gone into the back of Andy, and now Dario Yamulo trying to go right around the inside line of Danny Moreno. He's going to have to pit at the end of this lap if he really wants to keep contesting.
He's gone off.
Yeah, no, he's off the circuit. He's letting everyone by. And I think that is going to be confirmation. Danny Moreno's day completely done here. And he just left the session in frustration. Damage for him there. And we might have our first stewards report at the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, very, very unlucky that he went into the back. I think he was a little bit late on the brakes himself. I think he's more angry with himself than anyone from what I saw from the onboard. I think he was a little bit late there. And ultimately loses part of his front wing. I honestly, looking at it, I would not have retired there personally, because yes, he has wing damage. That'll cost him 5 seconds in the pit lane, but we are at a point where you can pit as Yamulo goes for the double. Yamulo goes for the double and gets it. Are you kidding me? I get that he has 10 laps fresher tires and a massive advantage because of it, but wow. He just shot past both of them and into the lead.
Yeah, I caught that one there. That was brilliant from Dario. And he just said, screw it, I'm going for the move. A double overtake in towards turn number 1 at the beginning of lap 31. And now he leads the Grand Prix. He doesn't have to pit in this race, but he's already on 20 laps on those tyres. He's got to do a further, like, 20 more. At least 27 more, actually, in this Grand Prix. They have to complete. So it's going to be very, very tough for him in this one to get to the end. I just don't see it happening, but he has really done quite well on this compound of tyre to make up the positions. He was in a bit of a deadlock at some point. You know, he wasn't really making up any moves, and he was stuck in the train. But now he's just completely gone full send. We could see another move from Liam Parnell. It's actually Jari Fitz looking up the inside, but he's not been able to go by this time. What about Ruben Vallejo onto the back of him? And no, he's just going to hang back for the time being. Julian Naumann also in a pretty strong position for his day. All these hard runners are going to be making it to the end of the Grand Prix. They might be in punch territories. Yeah, Naumann going up the inside line of Ruben Vallejo in towards turn number 5. He's made that move pretty nice entirely, but I think he's gone a little bit too deep, because here comes Ruben Vallejo back on the switchback move, and he is now into P7. What a move there from Ruben Vallejo, but you do have to give credit to Julian Naumann for trying.
Yeah, certainly he tried. He was a little bit late on his braking marker there. Just missed it and just went a little too deep, and Vallejo on the, as Crofty would call it, the old switcheroo, just gets him back right on corner exit there. A little bit iffy for Vallejo. I think he made things a bit difficult for him, but at the end of the day, he got the position back. Nothing has changed, and Vallejo is still way into DRS range there on Jari Fitz and this whole train in front.
Yeah, absolutely. Beginning lap 33 as Danny Moreno's AI car comes into the pit lane, and that is probably a little bit representative of what the drivers who are still out on the medium tyres. Only 2 of them at this point, Joe Hannon and Andreas Dormeyer in 2nd and 3rd position. Those 2 are going to definitely start to think about their pit stops, and I really just think they should have pitted under safety car, because if you think about Nicholas Matteo, Antoine Desolewski and Jake Benham, none of them have really made up too much ground on the hard runners at this point. They're only about 4 tenths quicker than the White Wall C2 hard tyre, so it isn't a huge advantage to be on the mediums, and they should have just taken it when they could have, as coming onto the DRS straight for the 34th time in this Grand Prix. It looks like Louis Welch trying to make a move on Julian Naumann in towards turn number 1. They're wheel to wheel coming into the braking zone as Julian Naumann's actually going to look up the inside of Ruben Vallejo. He's gone very deep on the brakes, and did he get spun? No, he just about held it. I thought I saw him maybe losing a bit of traction. Here comes Louis Welch to his outside line, closing the door. Does the German driver, but he gets a slide out of turn number 4. Here comes Louis Welch down the straightaway. We're on board with the Renault car. We're actually going on board with the Mercedes, trying to hang it right around the outside into the braking zone of turn number 5. Has he made that move stick? Brilliant stuff from Louis Welch.
Yeah, that's a fantastic overtake around the outside there. It's not easy. The car, the track, the corner is slightly cambered, but it's not even close enough to help much in such a scenario. So for him to pull that off around the outside there, just a fantastic overtake from Louis Welch. And now Yamulo is into the pit lane before Joe Hannon, and Andy Dormeyer also comes in. It's a Ferrari double stack. No!
Disaster for Andy, and that pretty much puts to an end any chance of a good result in this Grand Prix. He's been held in the pit lane by Dario. Unfortunately, you've got to put that on him, really, because he should have seen that his teammate was coming into the pit lane, and he was not able to take that one from him. So now he's way off the pace in 14th position. He's going to be quick on those soft tyres, but I just don't think it's enough to really catch up to anyone in front of him. So it's all been really thrown away in this Grand Prix for him. But now that leaves one driver out on circuit who is yet to pit. It is Joe Hannon in the Red Bull car. He'll have the freshest tyres towards the end, but it will be right down at the back of the order, probably in about 13th position, just behind Yamulo, and could be quite a bit ahead, I'd say, of Andreas Dormeyer as coming into the pit lane, the beginning of lap 36. 35 laps on that medium compound tyre. That was a very good stint from Joe Hannon, but now the tide will turn in this Grand Prix because Pablo Jogler, he's been in a comfortable position for the rest of this race so far, and now he's got Liam Parnell, Yari Fitz, Ruben Vallejo as well on his brilliant comeback drive. Those guys will be challenging him right to the death of it, coming for the remaining about 22 laps, probably 21 and a half is the middle ground, but do not go anywhere because this race is only just getting started.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if Ruben Vallejo does not get a podium out of this race, the racing gods are not looking upon this race. He started in last, he got completely ruined by the game, qualifying in a top 10 spot, then having to start from last on the soft tire he qualified on used softs. And now he's all the way up in 4th. If he doesn't get a podium, something is wrong with racing. And here goes Louis Welch actually on Vallejo down the inside. And there's time I say they make contact, they bang wheels. And Welch has to pull out of that one. No chance. They had to make sure that he holds the car more than anything. And we're getting close to a sub 1 minute fastest lap of the race. Yamulo now 1 minute 0.1. I think we will see that at some point as these soft runners down in 12, 13, 14, 15 are running in very clean air. So not much of an issue there. But you see the medium runners there, P9, 10, and 11. Dazalewski, Benham, and Mateo. They're still 8 seconds behind this group of 8. And I think it will stay this way. They're not going to close up in the final 20 laps of this race. Maybe a little bit. Obviously, I think they have a little bit of an advantage there, but it's not enough to do that as Welch pulling out. Oh, there we go. Parnell for the lead on Hoglar. Has to go the long way around. We'll have the inside now for turn 2 and completes the move there. And we have a pink Racing Point, a pink Mercedes into the lead.
Yep, I think Pablo Jogler could have fought that one back, but he decided to just hang back to get DRS down this straightaway, probably to cover off any move that was coming from Yari and Ruben Vallejo in behind, because these guys are going hammer and tong in this Grand Prix. Louis Welch and Bryn still in this fight, as well as Julian Naumann making up the position on Kersey for 7th position, but the battle really is heating up at the sharp end of the field. The battle for the lead of this race between about 5 cars on circuit. Louis Welch does have a penalty to his name, so unless he pulls out a massive gap, it is unlikely that he will take the win of this Grand Prix. Pablo Jongler has lost a lot of time to Liam Parnell, who's going to defend to the inside line. We are watching Jari Fitz potentially going for the move into the first corner. You can see the cars zooming right past in towards turn number 1. No moves being made this time by, but they are getting oh so close to really making the send. They've still got a couple of a good few laps left in this race, quite a number actually still to go, so they are not really going to be fighting until the very death of it. At this point, you'd expect that in the dying couple of laps, but Liam Parnell leading this Grand Prix. If he wins this race, he probably takes the championship lead. I would say he's just been the most consistent driver so far this season, and he also has been helped by drivers not really turning up in their races, because 1-2 last week. Neither McLaren driver has turned up tonight, unfortunately, as Louis Welch looking like he's the closest on track to maybe make a move on Ruben Vallejo coming into the final corner. He tried for the move, but he just backed off at the very last moment. Can we see a repeat of what we saw earlier on in the Grand Prix, where drivers were making moves left, right and centre coming in towards turn number 1? Pablo Jongler just losing more and more time to Liam Parnell in front of him, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move, is Jari Fitz. So they remain at the beginning of lap number 40, the order: Liam Parnell, Pablo Jongler, Jari Fitz, Ruben Vallejo and Louis Welch. That's your top 5.
Now think back to the top of the stream, Danny, when I said I've never commentated on this track. I tell you what, this looks a lot more like an IndyCar oval race, and I love this so far. I wish every league would run on Bahrain short for 100% race, because this is fantastic. We still have, but basically we have 8 cars in contention for the win on track at the very least. Of course, we have to sort of discard Louis Welch and Bryn, who both have picked up penalties. Unless they get those removed after the race, I think they will not be very much in contention here because of those penalties, because the finish will be so close between the top 8. And I'll tell you what, Zalewski, Parnell and Matteo have caught up by about almost 2 seconds over the last 3 or 4 laps. So they've been gaining at a quite significant rate. Maybe they can get involved in this as well. The question is, how many positions are they going to be able to take if they do catch up to this group? How many laps are they going to have left? And how easy are the overtakes going to be?
Yeah, but the laps are beginning to run out for these drivers, so they do have to get a move on if they do want to make up the positions on track. But it's going to be very tough, I'd say, for them to actually make up any moves, as Julian Naumann getting past Bryn Evans in towards turn number 5. He's made that move up pretty nicely ahead of his rival, who does have a penalty, and he's going to try and track down the leaders of this Grand Prix. If you'd have predicted that these drivers would be fighting for the win, then I think you should buy a lottery ticket. I don't think anyone expected some of these drivers to be right at the front of the order. No discredit to them. They are all insanely talented drivers. But one thing I've just noticed, Pablo Jongler, even though he has still got DRS, he's losing a lot of time to Liam Parnell in front of him. And so is Jari Fitz. Seems like the top of the order just beginning to space out in this Grand Prix. And maybe that's a sign of them just beginning to settle in to a proper rhythm. Those tyres are going to start to feel the effects of tyre wear at this point in the Grand Prix. I don't think they want to burn them out towards the end of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was always the worry. The intended lifespan, 40 laps. They pitted around, what was it, lap 9, lap 10, lap 11. Jari Fitz came in 2 laps earlier. He came in before the safety car. Don't forget that. And he's doing pretty well for himself in a 3rd place right now, considering that he pitted under green and not under the safety car. So I gotta give some credit to him as well here for holding such a position in P3. But yeah, the effects of tire wear are going to kick in at this point. I think they should be at around, I would guess, 55% tire wear, maybe getting close to 60 for Jari Fitz especially. And so they're falling off a cliff at this point. And Zalewski, 2 seconds, and Kersey's actually into the pit lane. He's had enough of these tires. He has to pit again. Oh, this might really, really get interesting now. The medium runners have picked up significant pace.
Yeah, and they're all in fight at the moment. Dario Yamulo making up the move on Nicholas Matteo. He's got two more medium runners in front of him. Nicholas Matteo not giving this one up too easily, as now both of these guys really great talent, and they both qualified for the pro draft. So these two going to be going hammer and tong. Dario Yamulo right around the outside, coming in towards turn number 5. Has he made this move stick cleanly on Nicholas Matteo, who's still fighting it back around the outside line? These two still wheel to wheel coming in towards turn number 8. Now Dario making up the position. He's into 10th place on circuit. He's got the two hash cards in front of him, and those are the superior grip on the softs. It's just going to come up so handy for him. And 7 laps, those tyres will easily get to the end of this Grand Prix. So he really is in the driving seat at the moment. 4.5 seconds is the gap between Bryn and Antoine Desaluski, and that gap is going to be clattering down over the next couple of laps, especially if Bryn begins to fight with Julian Naumann as coming through turn number 1. No moves being made this time by. So we are going to be expecting these guys to close up right at the end of the Grand Prix. It'll be very difficult for them to make the positions, given the fact that they are in a DRS train. But those hard runners, given that Kersey pitted, they might not have the confidence to go to the end.
Yeah, they might think to do a safety pit stop. Yamulo around the outside of Benham. Benham gives him no space whatsoever, completely hangs him out to dry. And Yamulo is going to have to try again. Benham not taking any prisoners whatsoever here. I tell you what, the overtake 1 lap ago from Yamulo on Matteo, that was quite a tricky one. I was on board with Yamulo for that one, and he was struggling. He touched that inside curb in turn 7. And if you've ever driven around the Bahrain circuit, that uphill right-hander in the middle sector, turn 7 on this layout, I think it's turn 11 or 12 on the long layout, it's really a tricky one. And if you touch that inside curb, it will spin you around. So Yamulo had a bit of a slide there. And so those two made contact. And I'm pretty sure Matteo isn't going to be happy about that. But not much Yamulo can do about it. He hit that curb, and at that point, the car just went a little bit on him. So he had to catch it back up. He did well to do so and complete an overtake as well. Yamulo down the inside this time. And they touch again, and he pushes him off the track. But I think that is Yamulo with the position. And indeed, he has it right there. But Benham rather is not done.
Oh!
Yamulo off the track. And that to me looks like a revenge maneuver. Now we have Johanna and Matteo coming through.
Oh my goodness me, it's all kicking off at the back of the order. And if they're doing stuff like this, then they don't have a chance in the world of catching up to the drivers in front. But now, Johannan has taken the advantage from the drivers in front of him. They've lost DRS to the cars in front as well, as they're all going hammer and tongue. They could be 3 wide, maybe even 4 into the first corner. Here comes around the outside, Nicholas Matteo trying to defend from Johannan. He makes a position. What about Dario Yamulo trying to go up the inside as he's been spun? And Dario off the circuit, and he's now been spun around. I don't know if he's got any wing damage. He's gone for a spin, and that is his race completely over.
Yeah, he's not going to recover from that. It doesn't look like he has wing damage. He might have non-visible but still noticeable wing damage. It's gonna, if he does, it would be rather low, and it wouldn't have much of an effect on the car, but it would certainly have an effect on the car. But he's outside the DRS now of these guys, and as such, it's not gonna work out for him ultimately. I think 2.8 seconds the gap. He's gonna try, I hope, to catch back up to them, as they are fighting significantly. Plus, there's still all the hard runners, as Louis Welch goes for a move on Yari Fitz here and gets it done down the inside. Now has the better run through turn 2 and takes the position, slots in right in front there and behind Ruben Vallejo in third. And there it is, the podium position I was talking about. Ruben Vallejo from last right now to third. And Liam Parnell might be fancying a move on Hoglar here. Decides against it ultimately, but certainly the last word has not been spoken yet, as Johannan goes for the move on his OMG mate, if we want to call him that. Antoine Desaluski gets the position, and now we have a soft runner in charge of that hunt for the hard runners in front. 10 laps to go as soon as they come across the line, and those hard tires are pretty worn out. There is a good chance that Johannan might actually be the one winning the race here.
Absolutely, he's got about 10 laps to catch up to the order, and those tyres, 10 laps, they are in pristine condition almost. I would just like to quickly apologise if I hurt any of your ears, because I noticed on OBS I was right into the red there, so if I did injure any of you, yeah, I do apologise for that one there, but moves being made at the front of the order. Louis Welch trying to make the move stick on Ruben Vallejo for third position on circuit. Louis Welch does have a time penalty to contend with, so he will not be taking the position unless he can turn up 3 seconds worth of a gap to the drivers behind him, which is very unlikely at this point. Louis Welch will be falling to about fifth position. Yeah, he'll lose a position to Yari, but Bryn is not close enough, and he also does have a 3-second time penalty. We'll just have a quick look. Both of them, yeah, on 3 seconds is all going right into the back of him, I think. Did Louis Welch there. Luckily, no wing damage coming to the British driver, but I think Liam Parnell might be trying to have a sniff at the lead of the Grand Prix. He's not using up too much of his overtake, and no, he's going to stick back for the time being, as I think I've just noticed something. Could be the beginning of the end for some of these drivers on their tyres who've really committed to the one stop from coming into the safety car, because here comes Joe Hannon. He's so close to the back of these runners, Bryn Evans and Julian Naumann. Joe just has to try as hard as he can. You can see the difference in grip. It is criminal how quick he is. And I think Bryn, he did not want any of that. He just let him right on through, did not want to contend with him whatsoever, as Ruben Vallejo maybe trying to look for a move on Liam Parnell coming in towards the third sector here. 2/10 is the gap between himself, and he might have a bit more of a run coming off the corner. Here he is now trying to make the move for the lead. What a story. This would be a Cinderella fairy tale if he went from last to first after qualifying inside the top 10. But it might all be put to shame, as Louis Welch almost going for a spin at the back of the field. So it's all kicking off at the beginning of lap 50. We have about 8 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Joe Hannon trying to make the move up the inside on Julian Naumann. And this should be easy as taking candy from a baby. And there it is, up the inside line. 6th position for Joe Hannon in this one.
And he's got a lot more laps left. He's going to catch up to that group. The question is, will every overtake be as clean as that one was and as easy as that one was? I don't think so. Some of these drivers in front, they're going to fight tooth and nail. The more laps are left, the more they're going to fight it. So it might be easy for him to get Louis Welch, possibly. I'm not sure Louis is going to put up much of a fight here, for the simple reason that he has a penalty, so it doesn't matter if he lets him by or not. He's going to lose that position anyway after penalties. So Louis Welch might not even fight this all too much. The other ones, Yari is going to get a bit more tricky, and then Vallejo, Parnell, Hogla, in whatever order they will be, every single one will be more difficult, as Welch actually goes into the pit lane now. 7 laps to go, and he pulls into the pit lane and retired.
Come on.
From the race. So we are down to 14 runners here in this race. Quite a bit of a race of attrition. And Joe Hannon only 3 seconds behind Yari Fitz. Let me just quickly compare the lap times. Hogla, last lap, the leader of the race right now, 1 minute 1.5. Joe Hannon, last lap of the race, 1 minute 0.0. 1 minute dead. He gains a second and a half per lap.
I think if I were any of the leaders, I'd be fearing this Red Bull car, and Max Verstappen-esque drive coming out from Joe Hannon here in 5th position. He'd be happy with this one either way, but I think he's hungry for more. We'll just quickly have a look at the positions gained. The biggest mover so far in this Grand Prix is, of course, Ruben Vallejo, but that does not discredit some of the drivers up behind, because Joe Hannon has made up 8 spots in this Grand Prix, and Julian Naumann also has made up 9. So all these guys making up their positions, as Antoine getting past Julian Naumann. He does have a 3-second time penalty to contend with, and that is what I winced at just a little bit earlier. He picked it up around about this time last lap for these guys. So yeah, Joe Hannon, he's about to get DRS, and I think next time by he will be within DRS range of the leaders, and that is going to spark some motions from these drivers, because they will want to be ahead of their rivals, so as to not be the first victim of the Red Bull car coming up the hill. He is now within 8 tenths, and he is comfortably in DRS range, and this could be where the tides completely change in the Grand Prix. Joe Hannon, he's got about what? That's 6 laps to do it left in this Grand Prix to take it. Do tell a lie, it's actually 5 laps left to take the win of this race. Now, coming out the final corner, he's 2/10 back from Jari Fit, and you can just see how much he wants this position. He's not using any of his overtake, but he's got the momentum off the exit of the final corner, and he could go for a dive bomb 10, but there's also a move being made at the front of the order. It seems like Liam Parnell trying to make the move on Pablo Dongola. Nothing comes of it. Here comes Joe Hannon up the inside line, coming into the first corner. He's made that move stick in towards turn 4 and into 4th position. So now it's all going to kick off here, and I think he might try and pick off another driver here in Ruben Vallejo. The Cinderella story could come to an end because he might lose out on the podium as they're still fighting it on lap 53.
I tell you what, 4 laps left to go as soon as they come to the line on this one. And look at this, Joe Hannon already. Oh, massive contact there between Vallejo and Hannon. Oh my, and I'm pretty sure Vallejo's not going to be happy with that. He goes for the move right back there and down the inside, and he gets that back. But the cutback by Hannon, oh, that's getting close between those two. They're fighting each other tooth and nail. Who's going to have the run into turn 1? I think, yeah, it's going to be Vallejo. He uses all of his overtake and keeps the position. Hannon, however, around the outside of turn 1, gets hung out to dry there. And I just lost connection to Steam.
Uh-oh.
You have to take over.
So, yeah, beginning the end of the charge for this Grand Prix. I'll see if you do have an invite, I can send you one if need be. But this is where everything changes in this race. There's a car off, and I think that might be Andreas Dormeyer out of the Grand Prix. And he's just retired it on circuit. He's got wing damage, but he's retired it on track. That was his own discretion there, so I don't think a safety car will come out this late into the Grand Prix, but all could change as Krusix leaves the session. I didn't even know he was still here. Here comes Joe Hannon on the back, round number 2. Ding, ding, ding on Ruben Vallejo. Coming out the final corner, this could be where he makes this move and finally has it solidified, but Ruben Vallejo pulling away on the straightaway. He's using up some of his overtake, and he could be going for the move onto Liam Parnell in towards turn number 1. Pablo Dongola leading the race. He's defending to the inside line. Liam Parnell to the outside line, coming into the first corner. Pablo going deep onto the brake. Here comes Ruben Vallejo up the inside of the Racing Point car. He's made that move stick as Joe Hannon as well into 3rd position. Liam Parnell losing out onto on the podium. He's in 4th position now as Pablo Dongola losing out to Ruben Vallejo, who leads the Grand Prix. Here comes Joe Hannon on lap 55 into towards turn number 5, into turn 5. He's right around the outside of the Spaniard, and he's got one more to clear before he leads the Grand Prix. 18 laps on that set of soft compound tyres. Those hards, 44 laps into the Grand Prix. They're going to be right at the limit. I've got to accept your broadcast here. Just hang on.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what's gone on there.
Yeah, I clicked wrong. Sorry, I don't have an invite.
Okay.
You take it. You take it.
Okay, so beginning lap 56. My voice is about to give up in this Grand Prix if you couldn't tell already. But here comes Joe Hannon. This could be the move that he makes for the lead of this Grand Prix. The alternate strategy working out. An absolute treat for him. Coming up the inside into the first corner. That is the move lead for the race lead. And he has got it on Ruben Vallejo. Falling into 2nd position, Pablo Dongola. And I think Nicolas Matteo as well trying to get involved for the battle for the lead. I have never seen anything like this in my commentary history. As Nicolas Matteo into 5th position, he could be challenging onto the back and possibly taking a podium right at the end of this race as he goes almost into the back of Liam Parnell, and he's getting so close to the rear into the 3rd sector, trying to get into the final lap of the Grand Prix. Joe Hannon's blitzing it away on circuit. Ruben Vallejo does not have a chance in the world of taking the lead of this race, and Joe Hannon, he's got to take a step. He's got to take a bow at the end of this one, but it might not be over for the AlphaTauri team because they could still be making up points in this Grand Prix in the name of Nicolas Matteo, because here he comes onto the back of Liam Parnell in towards turn number 1. Ruben Vallejo out of the DRS range of Joe Hannon in front of him. No moves being made on the beginning of lap 57, and I tell a lie because Jake Benham makes up the move on his teammate here, probably because he has a penalty and maybe he can have a sniff at an opportunity to take a position. And now coming on to the DRS straight for the final time, Joe Hannon, he has blitzed away in this Grand Prix What about Pablo Jongler? Can he maybe try and make a move on Ruben Vallejo? I don't think it's going to be enough, and they don't have too many opportunities to make an overtake on the final lap, but I think we just got to go on board with Johanan. He's got one sector left to do it here in Bahrain. 57 long and grueling laps. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. I believe that is a Renault car of Jari Fitz going off, but blitzing the last of his overtake. Johanan, take a bow, my son, through the final corner. He's come from all the way back down the order. He's made up 12 positions in this race to cross the line. Johanan wins in Bahrain.
I mean, what a fantastic drive from him. He gambled on staying out during the safety car, and it paid off with a manic drive from him. Absolutely remarkable and well deserved. The amount of overtakes he had to put into this, just absolutely amazing. A stunning performance. And look who's in second. From last, he could have won if it hadn't been for Hanan. It is Ruben Vallejo. Lost to second. It wasn't meant to be first place, but still, what a fantastic race from Vallejo after what transpired right after qualifying at the start of the race. Hogla in third, so 2 Spaniards joining Hanan here on the podium, and Liam Parnell in 4th. And if I just quickly calculate, I'm pretty sure Hanan is going to take the championship lead.
Unexpected from him there, but what a performance he's had. From 13th on the grid, should have been 14th if it weren't for Ruben Vallejo being completely screwed over by a glitch in the game. Where would have he been if he started in the position that he should have started? But I think he doesn't care now, because he did all he could in this Grand Prix to come up from last on the order to second at the line. And look at that for an order. We are about to run through the last of the positions, not confirmed. There still could be penalties coming their way, but Johanan taking the win of this Grand Prix. Ruben Vallejo in second, Pablo Jongler in third, 4th for Liam Parnell, and more Parnells yet to come, because Jake Benham in 5th, and then Nico Parnell, Nicolas Mateo in 6th. Dario Yamulo could not manage any better than 7th position, and Julian Naumann in 8th. Antoine Desaluski, what could have been for him if it weren't for that penalty? He'd have been right up the order, I think, in about 6th position, but he unfortunately took 9th in the end. Kersey, the last of your points finishers. Jari Fitz in 11th. Sink Bryn Evans, he took the fastest lap in the end of 59 flat, and then your retirements in this race. Danny Moreno leaving in the end. That was his AI doing most of the race, and that was due to frustrations with other drivers, I do believe. Andreas Dormeyer also leaving in frustration. The confirmed DNFs of this Grand Prix: Louis Welch, Crucix, Ruben Pedreño, Midnight, Dylan Warren, and Lefted, losing him in early in the Grand Prix. But what a race we have just witnessed. I think I need the biggest glass of water of my life.
Yeah, just drink the whole bottle. My goodness. Yeah, that was honestly I've commentated at this point about probably about 100 races on F1 2020 alone, this year's game alone, and at least probably more, let's be honest. But I've never seen something that crazy. From start to finish, there was constant action from the first lap to the last. I get why the drivers don't necessarily like this track. It's a little bit unknown, you know. It's a little bit iffy at times. Turn 4 is pretty difficult to navigate, but my goodness, I mean, this is how you put on a show. I huge respect to all the drivers. Whether you won like Johanan, you got a massive comeback drive like Ruben Vallejo, or even if you did not finish, all of them just put on a massive show. And yeah, that was absolutely remarkable. And we get to do it 5 more times over the course of the season. Next week at Abu Dhabi. And I know it's not necessarily a track that a lot of drivers like. I don't like driving it either. But I think it does make for a bit of good racing as well. If only that final sector was a little bit faster. But I think in the first 2, we'll see quite a bit of action going on there as well. Let's see if we're going to have anyone. No one's joining the interview waiting room. So I think we'll just call it there, shall we, Dan?
Yeah, I think everyone wants to get off and either have a shower after that one because of the amount that they've just sweated, or potentially watching the Champions League. Yeah, I believe that is all that we really do have to say in this Grand Prix. Thank you all everyone so much. I'm losing track of my words as to how brilliant this stream has just been. Thank you to everyone that has been watching. Make sure you tune in next week at 7 p.m. We're in BST. BST for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We'll be back to 50% race, so it won't be as long as this one. But thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you all next time. Good night.